I'm Joshua Hayward, and thanks for joining me for life readings this week in the stars and cards. And let me extend an invitation to you to join me each week as I explore all the possibilities and the challenges and the opportunities for inward growth and outward effectiveness. And this is brought to you by Breath of Life School in Yellow Springs, Ohio, and many blessings. Enjoy. So let this be the week of Heal Me, Heal Us. We've had some pretty big challenges coming up the last few weeks with planet stationing, and the last 2 weeks a couple of really intense T-squares. And hopefully we've faced those challenges. We're moving along. We're moving on. What else can we do? Well, we can become more of who we are, and we can become more loving, and we can become more connected with Spirit by opening our consciousness up and opening our hearts up. So this week that begins on July the 11th, let's just talk about a few things. Remember, heal me, heal us. Or heal me, heal we. However you want to look at that. The sun is moving into a trine, which is a nice angle of receptivity, mutual receptivity, to Neptune, which is the planet of spirituality. And so the sun from the sign of Cancer to Neptune in the sign of Pisces. This is opening up on a spiritual and emotional and psychological level to who we are as spirits in these bodies in this lifetime. So really opening up is what is a really good thing to do this week, opening up that heart, opening up the soul to the soul. Another thing that's happening is Mercury is moving into a trine to Jupiter. This is a brief thing that happens for 2 or 3 days this week, and that really, those both very shall we say consciousness-oriented planets. Mercury, really that planet of communication and the mind, and Jupiter, the bigger planet of super consciousness, and so of deeper understanding. So putting the mental aspects into a place of seeing the small picture maybe, and then Jupiter maybe looking at the big picture. So when you really when you take a measure of that particular planet, sort of fleeting, but maybe important nonetheless, planetary event, planetary transit, of nice receptivity between the small picture and the big picture. And so how do we feel about things? How do you feel about life? And how do you feel about how you're fitting in? And that's one way of really looking at things. So this is you, and so that's healing me, and then healing us when we look at the big picture. Because we fit in to the picture as individuals. We need to keep strong, keep good boundaries, yet still stay open and available. Not have limited thinking that just brushes things off that might actually just give us opportunities. Okay, so let's, spiritually and psychically invite in the big picture, and so we can start to live our lives from that perspective. Now, okay, so we're moving right along here to what's definitely more of a big event and an important event, another stationing planet. And this is the asteroid Chiron, the wounded healer. in the sign of Aries, which in many other videos I've explained is that as Chiron goes through Aries, what it presents for us is the sacred warrior. Okay? And that is the warrior of the heart. That is the warrior of Christ consciousness. This is the warrior of somebody who's been driven by spirit and by the heart. So feel that in your body, feel that in your mind, feel that in your heart. And understand that and know that Chiron is stationing at about 13 and change of Aries. And it's changing directions. And I've talked about stationing planets in the other, many other videos, so I'm not going to go into that too much. But you can feel the power of it. Even right now, I can kind of feel that welling up in me. And this is a healing level of the self, so heal me. Okay, so it's on a sextile as it stations to the planet Saturn in the sign of Aquarius. Saturn figured into the T-squares of last week and the week before. And it's still in that square to Saturn. It's still in that square to Uranus. So Saturn in Aquarius squaring Uranus in Taurus. So this week on the 16th, and you can feel it kind of happening right now, that energy, that presence of the wounded healer starting to make itself prominent on a 60-degree angle. It's almost like you take a look at this double-term quartz. Got some points here and a point here. And so that's what reminds me of a sextile. It's like 60 degrees. Usually these quartz crystals have 6 sides. And so you look at on both sides there, the 6 and the 6. And you really get that feeling of a definite crystalline connection with a sextile. And that's what is happening to the wounded healer with the planet Saturn. And Saturn's in the sign of Aquarius, and Aquarius is the we. Okay, and that's a structure for not only individual independence, but so we can get along. And if you want more information about that Saturn going through the sign of Aquarius and its relationship to Taurus, go back and check out a few of the previous week videos. But for right now, what if on that sextile the I am really relates well to this structure that's opening up for the we, the I and the we? Just feel that for a minute. And it feels good, doesn't it? People have really not been getting along too well on the planet in the last several years. And I'm not saying that this particular transit is going to heal all of that, but you can heal the me so you can heal the we this week if you open up to that. What does it take for you to really be who you are? And a lot of that is dropping projections from, well, early childhood, certainly from the family, and from also from friends and from other people and other institutions that want to define you and pigeonhole you into being what they think that you are. So in turn, that you may do that yourself. That's what the sacred warrior does. The sacred warrior begins to see who he, she, they are without those projections. So this week, that's the thing to do. And it's opening the heart. And remember, Mercury and Jupiter, the small picture, the big picture. Really keep that in mind, that healing the self, puts you into a new relationship with the others, and challenges other people on some level to maybe drop those projections. When you change, people begin to notice that. But don't do it for them. But when you do, the me does affect the we. Okay? And Aquarius being that sign, Saturn and Aquarius being that sign of not only of change, but of freedom and equality, independence, interdependence, and Saturn being very structural. And so when you get relationships between Chiron and Saturn, you want to emphasize the Saturn to try to ground the energy of whatever healing the wounded healer is doing. And that it wants to ground in that notion of equality and liberty and independence and freedom. And we just passed that 4th of July this last week. So that's fresh in the mind. Hopefully it's fresh in the heart. Okay, so that's the deal this week. And as Chiron does station on this sextile to Saturn, it does affect that struggle and that quest that we have to adopt the right values, to ground ourselves into our connection with one another. So keeping that in mind as you go into this week here, I'm going to pull 3 cards now. And it could be more than 3 cards. Last week I ended up with 6. I don't know what will happen this week. I just get guided. And all right, let's see how this adds to and helps clarify and strengthen the astrology and the stars work that we just talked about. Okay, so the first card is the Princess of Cups. I believe, and it's kind of hard for me to remember everything all the time, and especially, and then, you know, the readings too, and what. But I do remember this card coming up somewhere recently. Don't quote me, whoops. But this is the Princess of Beauty, the Princess of Cups, Princess of Love, the Manifester. Oh yeah, I remember last week we were working with the Princess of Wands, and she manifested and brought in a lot of energy, positive energy. And this is more the beauty, the poetry, the love. Okay, so this is that week of loving the self and letting that love emanate outward to others. Keeping in mind the creative aspect and the effort to really open the heart. Sometimes it does take some effort if we've been wounded. Anyway, keeping all that in mind, what's the next card? Okay. The next card is the Emperor. And that's been one of my cards lately, and I think it's been really important. And when you're starting, or when you're looking at the wounded healer, being in the sign of Aries, that sacred warrior, that's what the Emperor, I believe, is this week. That we've got this beauty that we're trying to manifest in our own life that we can maybe bring to others through conscious and unconscious acts of kindness to others and to ourselves. Yeah, let's do that. And the Emperor knows who he, she, they are. Right? The Emperor is that's in that sign of I am. And there's the wisdom to be powerful, to know that real power comes from spirit and comes from us opening our hearts to Christ consciousness, to embrace and embody that. So, all right, so the power of love. Kind of reminds me of a Huey Lewis song. Of course, that may date me too. The third card is sort of the consort, or maybe even the brother of the Princess of Cups. This is the Prince of Cups. And he brings change to love. He is a manifester of change and changing that frequency. So we do have the Mars-Venus conjunction moving into its exact conjunction this week too, although it's moving on from the T-square of the last couple of weeks. But this still is a week of love, and once again, the power of love. But it's balanced masculine, feminine energy here, wanting to meet and creating this power of letting love earth here on this planet through us. I'm going to go for the fourth. And this is the Eight of Wands. So what we have building up is some energy for change. We had that bottleneck, that bottleneck of frequencies kind of moving into everything sort of, coming in together like that, and really meeting some challenges in the last couple of weeks. And so this card is called Swiftness. It's sort of like the Tower card. And I call it an agent of the Tower card. And Swiftness is the Eight of Wands. And it's moving from a little bit of chaos of trying to, to try to input and align some different frequencies. And meeting some challenges there, but now it's starting to pick up and to move. So we have some energy beginning to move forward here this week. With this business of that connection of me and we. All right. So, wow, this is kind of beautiful. I'm going to continue with a couple of cards here. We're really getting some interesting cards this week. All right, well, so now we're looking at more of the challenge here. And we had 4 cards of, moving forward and real positive energy. And one thing to realize is to let go. And open up your heart to what is here and what is present and what can come up. But open up your heart to the past and let it go. The defeat card, the 5 of Swords. What's no longer working, and this really has a Venusian type of quality because Venus does have a part in this card. And so we need some defeats. And I really feel that this is the week of moving on from beyond that. And no matter what's happening in the big picture out there of conflict between this side and the other and all this polarization and stuff like that, there's this big defeating thing going on in the world. And it's going to continue for another probably 2 years, especially in this country of the United States. But we can't let that get us down. And it doesn't have to defeat us on personal levels. So let's work on ourselves this week. And it's a breakthrough. It's a breakout week if we're really willing to let go of what we know we really need to let go of. Maybe we pretend. So easy to do, to pretend something's still working. To avoid what might be heartbreaking admission of defeat. Energetically, that's just not going to cut it, though. We need to move forward. So I'm going to do one more card, and following that card, if this is the card of victory, so we've got defeat, and let's punctuate this with an exclamation point. And that's victory. And sixes rule the heart, and Jupiter is in the sign of Leo in this card. So if we open the heart and we let go of the past and we move into an intentional balance of the lover and the warrior, if we move into a nice balance of the masculine and the feminine, and really accept our power coming from spirit, and we begin to move with a deeper connection with Christ consciousness, the heart opens up to victory. And this victory, it can be about specific stuff, but it can be a victory of life, to where we have a different relationship in our lives. And that would be that victory of a healed me, opening up that frequency for a healed we. So this is Joshua Hayward, signing off from this particular episode of Life Readings this week in the Stars and Cards. If you've enjoyed this and you feel like you're getting benefit from it, please hit the like button and subscribe. You can also open up your notifications to where you don't even have to think about it. Here it is, it appears, and you know about it. Anyway, many blessings to you. Much love.